Welcome, any and all, to the Movie Club Collective, wherein 3 to 5 cinephiles discuss a different movie each week. This week, we'll be talking about Robert Zemeckis' Who Framed Roger Rabbit from 1988, starring Bob Hoskins, Christopher Lloyd, Joanna Cassidy, and Charles Fleischer as the titular character. This movie was rated PG. Today, on the podcast, discussing this movie with me, here in the studio, we have the illustrious Jose Venutolo. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you. I'm glad to be back.
And also joining us for the first time this week, the wonderful Briana Redmount.
Hello, everyone.
All right, so to start off, I think the first thing I tend to like to start with is just sort of what was your history with this film before rewatching it for this podcast discussion. So, I guess we'll start with you, Jose.
Well, I've seen this film several times. I don't know how many before this one, but I do remember that I went to see it in movie theaters when it came out. So I was alive back in 1988. And I was old enough.
Oh man!
Yes, I was old
Was
enough.
that a chill technique? That was a chill technique.
Yes. And
I was alive, but not coherent
Exactly,
enough
exactly.
to view this movie.
I was a kid. I mean, granted, I was a kid, and of course, it affected me completely different than it did right now. But we'll get into that.
Yeah, like I grew up with this movie in the house. We had it on VHS, so pretty much for as long as I can remember, we had access to it. So we watched it a bunch, and I don't think I was ever really able to follow the plot, but I was excited to see it again. I hadn't seen it in probably a decade or more since this viewing. Have you seen it before?
Of course, I was not alive when it came out, and I did not have access to it as a child, so I saw it as an adult.
Okay.
I think the first time I saw it was in college.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
so this
very
is probably
different.
only my second time seeing it to do this podcast.
Do you remember enjoying it from before you watched this one?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, like, when I first saw it. But, like, I don't have childhood memories of it, is the thing.
Yeah, I grew up on this movie.
Yeah.
Like I had the same issue that you had. Like I did enjoy it. I remember I was fond of this movie. It's a fond memory, but I was never able to follow the plot. Like, when I was a kid, like now I realize that
because they do set it up pretty well.
But what I found about the plotting in this movie is that it comes at you like kind of fast. Mm-hmm. So you really have to be paying attention, or you'll miss like a key.
Yeah, I guess
a key fact.
As a kid, maybe because of the way they talk and because of the way it's all written, it is a little. And you focus on the cartoon characters, which are funny.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah, that happened to me. Like it was entertaining to watch and not necessarily to follow.
Right. So, what was kind of your initial impression on the rewatch in that case?
In this time?
Yeah.
This time? This has happened to me a lot lately. I mean, I don't know if it's because I'm now a filmmaker, like I studied the craft and everything, but it did affect me completely different. It kind of like, it didn't have, I was hoping, I was like prepared to watch something that was dear to my heart, and now it kind of like crumble a little.
Oh.
Yes. And I'm like, I wouldn't go as
It let you down.
It let me down. It did let me down. To me, it didn't hold.
You went in with expectations.
Well, and because I had not, when I first saw it, so I was in college or whatever when I first saw it, and people loved this movie and I thought it was the most amazing thing in the world, and I saw it and I liked it, but I did not have the same reaction of like, this is so great. This is a great movie. And so it's just like, and I mean, even to this day, I don't think it's a great movie. It's fun, and I like it. And Hoskins is obviously Hoskins is really
the late
good
great
in it.
Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, he's my favorite part in it.
Mm. Yeah, he does carry the movie well.
You know what? One thing that I feel it's the fact that it is set in 1947, isn't it? So the humor, it's 1940s, like especially the cartoon humor is not is very slapstick.
Yeah, and it's designed to evoke an old style of cartoon humor,
Yes,
even from when it came out.
yes, and I
A
feel
very distinct type of
I
humor.
I feel that back in 1988, I'm not saying that only because we were closer in time to 1947, but I was probably not only because I was a child, but I was probably more prone to laugh to that kind of comedy than I am right now. Comedy has transformed so much that some of these classic movies that are comedies, you watch them right now, and then unless it's like Monty Python, which is clever in dialogue, this slapstick thing doesn't make you laugh anymore.
Yeah.
I think that like the movie that I remember sort of changing the way that kids comedy worked was Shrek, because like the comment that everybody had coming out of the movie was like, "Oh, it's great for kids, but I loved it as an adult." Like the humor worked on two levels, and I feel like they really try to do that now, whereas cartoons from the 40s and the 30s worked on like one level. It was just like straight slapstick.
But I also don't think that this was made to be a kids movie. Like people try, and yes, kind of in silly slapstick ways, but like in the way that Hoskins treats some of the cartoons, and the baby character talks about.
And he's like an old man. He's like 50.
He's 50, and he's like, I've got the sex drive of a 50-year-old, but the whatever he says, the wee of a baby.
Yeah, like the dinky or something.
Yeah, and so it's just like that is not dialogue for children, and so I'm always surprised when people say that they watched it as children, because I don't think it's a children's movie.
Yeah, it's sort of marketed towards children because of the cartoon factor, but the content.
Everybody loves Mickey Mouse. Yeah,
the content is very adult in that it's satire of that time and of film noir, which is gonna completely go over kids' heads. It makes references to things from the 40s that like no kid would get. Like. Yeah. That's for adults at that time.
Like I told you, I didn't get the shave and a haircut.
That's right.
I had no idea that was called shave and a haircut. So that there was words to it.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad had told me, tell me about that song as a kid, so I knew that one. Right now. Shave and a haircut, 2 bits, and 2 bits is
I'm just in the same. Like,
and 2 bits is a really old timey term for a quarter, and it goes like way back to like the turn of the century.
So it must be.
It's like a term. It's not even. Yeah, and like the bits refer to like breaking a dollar into eighths, so 2 bits is a quarter.
Nice.
Gotcha. And it's. I don't know that it's even American in origin.
Maybe not.
I think it might not be.
It might be also like censorship.
The phrase.
Censorship was different back then. This is why. This
movie's PG.
It's PG. Yeah, that's right.
This would be PG-13 today. I feel like.
Exactly.
You think so?
I think it's hard to tell because there's the sexuality of Jessica Rabbit alone would make this movie PG-13 today.
Oh, yeah.
True.
True. Yeah, she is not a kid's.
Yeah, I think a good question of this movie is like, who is it for?
Yeah.
But like, are these cartoon aspects for adults?
I mean, I think it's a reminiscing aspect to it.
It was to like evoke nostalgia for the adults of the day.
Yeah, so
that makes sense.
We all loved, Daffy Duck being crazy, and Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse and like all those characters. And like we always remember how violent the Warner Brothers cartoons were.
They were.
There was a lot of violence in this movie.
I forgot about it, and then I saw like one recently, and like Daffy Duck gets.
He gets his shotgun in the face. Yeah, his everything but his beak is gone.
It's gone, and it spins around his head. But so like I think it evokes nostalgia. So the kind of kitschy jokes of like when Bob Hoskins is falling out of the building, and he meets Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny and says, "Do you have a spare?" Which means, "Do you have a spare?" Of
course, we know.
A spare parachute. But then they give him a spare tire. Like it's kitschy old style humor.
It is old style.
That kids are not necessarily going to get anyway. But they like the fact that these guys are falling out of the building.
I feel like
they
the
don't
spare
give
tire
him the
joke
thing that he wants.
landed as a kid.
It probably did,
but you know,
it's not that difficult to follow.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
not
difficult
like
to
a
follow,
hard
but it
joke.
would definitely mean more for adults than for kids. Also, it's interesting what you're mentioning because it's true that Warner Brothers was produced more violent. I mean, they were all based on that. Like if you watch like
I was reading about this movie that they like the characters were kind of supposed to be modeled after Looney Tunes, and the comedic style was after a show called Tex Avery, which I didn't watch as a kid, but was apparently more violent even than Looney Tunes, which is considered more violent than anything Disney ever put out.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe like Goofy's probably the most in terms of Disney cartoons being violent. Just because it's like, yeah,
no, but it's
because it's slapstick antics.
Exactly, but it's like him doing stupid things that get him hit by other things.
Yeah.
But when you go to Daffy Dog, when you go to Bugs Bunny, they're purposely
they're like
pranking people,
or
like it's
Tom and
constant.
Jerry, which is like what the first scene is kind of based on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
The first scene isn't really based on Tom and Jerry, I don't think, because it's more goofy because it is Roger trying to save the baby, but just getting himself hurt, and like the baby's fine. So I think that one is a little. It's not quite.
But you know
the
what?
verses
Isn't in Tom and Jerry the humans in Tom and Jerry only see the fruit, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean that is a nod.
Kind of
There's nods all over.
Yeah, it's interesting. Another show I didn't watch is Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
I was not allowed in it's too violent.
We had VHS tapes of that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we had like the 50th anniversary VHS of Tom and Jerry that had like a best of kind of things.
I watched so many cartoons that you guys like. And
I watched Three Stooges growing up too, and they are like, you know, that same kind of violence. Backtracking a little bit. One of the things about this movie on the rewatch that I really appreciated is just it's a technical marvel. I think it's really impressive, and I think it really holds up. Like it holds up in a way that a lot of modern movies aren't going to hold up 30 years after they've come out. They really went the extra mile.
What was your favorite moment where you're like, how did they do that?
My favorite, how did they do that? Because I was kind of watching it, puzzling out some of it. Somehow I was able to
Because I think
really
my
spot.
favorite is when the weasels are in his house/office, and he's hiding.
That
Roger
one's
Rabbit
pretty
in
impressive.
In the sink, and so they're all just throwing things around. But I think my favorite pinpointed moment was when the weasel
water?
splashes.
I was
the water.
watching for that one, and it
loved
comes from the very edge of the frame. So I'm thinking that they just had a stick or something.
Maybe.
Because his gun prop in that scene is kind of obviously on a stick. I can kind of tell just the way that it moves. Just the way it moves. It feels... But the fact that they're always holding props and interacting with people. The club scene's pretty impressive. There's a lot of interaction going on.
Yes.
The octopus who's serving drinks and and they hand him and he grabs them.
Betty Boop.
Yeah.
It's his jaw so that it goes up. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, just everything from she grabs his tie. That whole scene is just filled with it. I know they kind of went out of their way to differentiate themselves from other movies that have done this kind of double animation.
Yeah.
Stuff like Pete's Dragon is a kind of a notable precursor. One of the art Fantasia. The art director had these rules where he's as much motion as possible and as much interaction as possible. And they also went out of their way for lighting, which shows sometimes the cartoon's shadows are a little more static than the people's, but the way that the light falls on them is pretty incredible, just from an animation standpoint. And this movie went way over budget too. They were allotted a $30 million budget, and they spent over $70 million on this movie. To more than double your budget is so crazy. I guess we'll move on a little bit to we'll go acting. Who are the favorite character / performance highlights in the film for you guys?
Mm.
You kind of mentioned already Bob
Bob
Hoskins.
The whole movie. And, like, what's always amazing to me is you cannot tell that he kind of has, like, a Cockney British accent in real life. And then he has, and most kids grew up knowing Bob Hoskins as that character, and so if they ever heard that he's actually British, they're like, no, he's not. He has that New York accent, and it's completely, like...
He sells it.
Yeah,
he just twists his own accent just a little bit, and it's pretty.
It's the 1940s film noir.
Yeah, I love Christopher Lloyd in this film. I think he's brilliant. He does. So it's one of my favorite performances of him. That one's like right up there with Uncle Fester for me. For him, I mean, you might say Back to the Future, whatever. That's what he's known for. But I think that he's better in this movie. What's that?
I knew Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, Smee. But I knew him from this first, and like I know him from things after this. Like I don't know Bob Hoskins from anything before this.
Yeah, I mean, I probably have seen
him. Because he's in like Hook, Enemy at the Gates. He's pretty good in. He's like one of the Russian generals.
True.
Yeah, just a really good kind of character actor. Who, by the way, like a miracle for him to have landed this movie. They chased many high-profile actors for the role. The first choice was Harrison Ford.
Always in the 1980s.
Yeah, I mean, he'd come off of Blade Runner, which was noir, so it's kind of like the overly obvious choice. But Spielberg would also work with him a lot, so he probably wanted him. But apparently they couldn't afford him, which
not
is
not
with a $30 million budget. They offered it to Eddie Murphy, who turned it down and then later said he regretted it.
That would have been a different movie.
That would have been a
different movie.
Very different movie. You can kind of picture it with Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
With Eddie Murphy, you're like, oh wow, it would completely change the movie.
Yeah.
But not necessarily for the worse. He did kind of have, like in the Beverly Hills Cop movies, he's a little bit more reserved at times than he is in some of his other performances. So maybe he would have done that. Also, apparently they tried to get Bill Murray to do the role, and they just couldn't get in touch with him in time. And when he found out about that, he was like pissed because he would have jumped at it. He would have taken it. So like the fact that it landed on Bob Hoskins is like kind of amazing.
Is that why he did Space Jam?
Oh, Space Jam.
He's like, I want to work with cartoons.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, maybe he's a big Looney Tunes fan.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Because he does just kind of shoehorn himself into Space Jam.
That's so really weird.
I mean, and Garfield.
That's way later.
Way later, and he doesn't interact.
And apparently, the story is that he accidentally accepted that job.
Yeah.
What?
Because it was written by, like a Joel Cohen, and he thought it was of the Coen brothers, and it turns out it was a different Cohen.
Oh
just like unrelated entirely. That's the story I read, but that's...
And it already signed off on...
I don't know how you get that far into the project without knowing.
We'll ask him when he comes next week.
Yeah. Why would the Coen brothers have written Garfield?
But getting kind of back on track, I know. Bill Murray, you crazy son of a... what about you, Jose? You got anything different?
It's Bob. It has to be Bob.
Bob.
I mean, I do recognize, like, once you mentioned what Christopher Lloyd did.
Because he plays the cartoon aspect to a T. Like, he just is inhuman in this movie in the best way possible. Yeah. And, like, what he does with his voice throughout the movie.
He plays it marvelously.
He's super intimidating and scary.
But Bob had to act to nothing constantly.
He has to act to nothing, and he carries the film's emotional arc.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, like, this kind of ties into another thing I want to talk about, which is the difference between the human characters and the toons. Because the way I kind of saw it is the toons felt very like they're static, and they don't have an option to be anything but, like, Roger just is like this crazy, has to tell jokes, but is very sincere in trying to make you laugh. And that is just kind of his through line through the whole movie. Whereas Bob Hoskins is a very clear arc of like going through this depression of losing his brother, falling into alcoholism, and then eventually turning that around and like learning to laugh again.
Yeah.
And like it's kind of and he sells it pretty well. He's got some good moments where he manages to like fit that arc into this kind of zany story that's going on. Like he really anchors it. I feel like at least on this rewatch, I really felt it.
The movie's about him. It's not about Roger. I mean,
Even
like
though his name
Roger is the
title,
case.
but-
Yeah, Roger
That's
is
pretty
the-
common for title characters,
Yeah,
though,
it's
to
true.
not be the main character.
Yeah, Roger is the case that he's working, but it's about him and recovering, as you said, like recovering his mind, like like coming out of that depression, and that, because he loves Toontown. I mean, him and his brother were Roger Rabbit said it, like, you are the guys that when a toon needs detective, when a new toon needs help, you're the guys we go to. So he has an empathy. He enjoys that. He just like lost it because of the running. Who wouldn't? But it's his arc what you need to follow. That's why maybe they didn't pay too much attention making Roger Rabbit have an arc or any other character have an arc, because also, as you say, they need to keep consistent of being a cartoon.
Yeah. And it's like they don't even have this choice in it. Like Jessica Rabbit is the clearest.
And they don't age or anything.
And they don't age.
Yeah.
They don't.
They are a constant.
You can't kill them except with paint thinner, with dip.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that line of like, you thought that there was no way to kill a toon. Well, you found it.
And it's just like a combination of paint thinners that they
Yeah.
would like actually use to clean prints or whatever.
Can we technically say, like, if this is true, you can kill a toon, so then two of the weasels are still alive because they didn't get bit.
Yeah,
Only
they
one
get
of them
they get ghosted.
But
They get
do,
ghosted.
Yeah, they do
They
have
go-
those angel characters who
Yeah, but then-
do laugh themselves to death.
Yeah, I know, but will
But
that
maybe they'll
count
come back
as
later.
a sign?
Maybe they come back later. It's like maybe that's part of their shtick that they die laughing and they come back.
I mean, because otherwise it's just like
Or that's their new version of like the kind of angel.
kind of. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, because they're still something.
I love the
Yeah.
crazy one. The crazy one was my favorite.
The
With the-
crazy
The
one.
crazy
jacket.
one. Yeah, with the jacket, with the straight jacket. Like, it's just like, and when
And
he
he's
just
the one
goes
who
and
like
activates the thing at the end, and then just
as a
laughs and
ghost.
goes like bye bye. He just like flies away. He's my favorite character. He reminds me of the crazy hyena on
From Lion King.
on Lion King. Yeah,
That's true. Probably.
It's a similar kind of. I mean, it's a similar kind of character. It's a similar character.
He doesn't ever talk, and he just kind of.
He just
crazy.
he just does the crazy.
That die laughing bit though is a really good setup in this movie.
Yes.
Because they
They
set it up
mention it
a
twice.
few. They set up twice early, and then Roger has this scene in the movie theater, which I think is one of my favorite scenes with Roger, because it's kind of like one of the few real moments you get with him, where he says that like sometimes laughter's the only weapon you got.
Yeah, it's true.
And then when we get to that finale, there's this really, like, Zemeckis nails it, I think, where he does this push in, and then you just hear a ding. It's just like a little high pitched, it's like a really faint ding. You hear a little bell, and it's just like, oh, the light goes on. He needs to use laughter. He has to, like, find his inner silliness again.
Yeah.
What's your favorite scene?
My favorite scene, it might be the one I just
That one.
just talked about. Yeah, I think that is because I feel like it's a very kind of tropey scene, but he nails it. I feel like, and even as a kid, the following act that when he gets all silly was one of my favorites as a kid. Probably just because of the nose don't rhyme with walls. No, but this does. That was probably my favorite joke as a kid. But but now, like, as an adult watching it, I just feel like the moment right before that, where he has the realization, is a good culmination of setups into, like, a proper, like, his arc is paying off. So that's probably my favorite. What about you?
Mine.
Okay.
Mine is when he misses the red car and then he jumps with the kids in the back, and then when he gets to the studio he just jumps out and then he looks back at the kid and he goes like, "Thanks for the cigarettes." I think that is so hilarious. I mean, it's just like
In a kid's movie.
It speaks
Not
about
a
the
kid's
time.
movie.
Right?
It
It's not.
speaks about times.
Yeah.
You know, he just turns back and he thanks the kids because the kids gave him cigarettes. Just brilliant. That's just, I mean, like, if I can take a quick hiatus here, I once was in a set and I was talking to this guy who was doing a PA job. I mean, he's like this 60-year-old guy, and he was telling me he comes from like somewhere in Pennsylvania, but kind of like not in the main, like one of the little towns. And he told me he used to smoke unfiltered like Luckies, and he was telling me stories of like we used to carry gun, we used to have a gun and take it to school, and then the only thing is that you need to give it to the principal, and they can give it back to you.
Are you kidding me? Where did he live?
And then they would allow, if they bring a note from their parents.
Where in Pennsylvania?
If they bring a note from their parents, they were allowed to smoke. So they would go and then buy like the candy shop. Like,
well, yeah, they used to have
cigarettes.
the big when the anti-smoking campaigns really kicked hard in the 90s. It was like get rid of the machines. That like anyone can put a quarter in and like
exactly. So this guy would just carry a gun to school, and then there were no shootings, there were no accidents, there were no like they knew how to use that. But it was crazy. It was crazy. Like this guy was just talking. I mean, I don't know.
They acted like there weren't any.
Probably,
but I think that's willful ignorance.
War against, like he was there. but it's consistent. Like I see Bob Hawkins thanking kids for a cigarette, and then I don't go. This is not only a joke. This is a statement. I mean, these things used to happen.
Yeah.
Like it, I don't know.
What about you, Briana? You got a favorite scene? You got one?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I like the scene where you first see, Jessica Rabbit.
You like the reveal?
Yeah, because like if you.
They do a decent job of building it up with the rabbits.
Like advertise that Jessica Rabbit was in the movie. You could like assume that like
if you watch it as though it's pure.
Be a rabbit, and that's what Bob Hoskins thinks is going to happen. And then he, they open the curtain and she comes out and she's this like hyper-sexualized like cartoon. And of course, then she has the line later, which is
and his face is just like
ugh. And the part where Betty Boop puts his chin up so that he's not gawking.
So
I love that line that you're referring to.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn.
I'm just drawn this way.
Yeah.
I think it's a.
I
Great
think that
statement.
hits the heart also of like what we were talking about earlier with the tunes. It's just like she's like it's just what I am.
Yeah.
But it's like I still have some form of independence.
I love when he goes like, "What did you see in that rabbit?" And she goes, "He makes me laugh." Like that's all.
But and Bob Hoskins has his reaction to that is just kind of like, okay, I got you.
Yeah, I got you.
It's always something like that. Yeah. Apparently, the Zemeckis told Bob Hoskins to picture like the ultimate girl, the ultimate beauty,
whatever.
And he was like, the final result was like way more risque than even what he was imagining during the scenes. And I was like, watching his face, I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of crazy.
Whatever he pictured was less risque than
because he hadn't seen finalized drawings of because the way they made the movie, they essentially had to make the whole movie before they could animate it.
Yeah, correct. Because in the animation needs to match.
Because the way that they had to do it was such like the process. I was reading about the process, and it's so arduous without having a digital interface. Like we're so spoiled today in what we can do. Like what I can just throw in After Effects, I can do, throw cartoons in here.
But it did make it. It's like there's so many films and TV shows out there right now. Humans interact with cartoons, and it doesn't look like they're looking at each other.
Yeah.
So I think the way that they filmed it, so that they just look at this piece of paper on a stick, and then we will animate it so that it's like really looks like you're looking directly at.
Yeah.
There's
a couple scenes. There's a
Yeah.
couple scenes. There's like two that stood out to me where he's looking right at Roger. It kind of doesn't look like he's looking at him, but most of the time it's pretty good.
Yeah.
That was the exception, not the rule.
There's this video on YouTube where you can watch. It's a side-by-side screen of Bob Hawkins, Bob Hoskins, and then in one side of the screen you can see the full animated movie, and the other side you can see him acting on like literally nothing. Like sometimes we will have the eyeline thing and stuff, but you see it, and most of the time it's just a blue screen. They use blue screens back then. it's a really interesting thing.
And apparently
to watch.
he got really like bent out of shape on the shoot because the way they said it was that like he was essentially teaching himself to hallucinate. And like he took a year off after this movie. He he needed to decompress and just because he said he spent like 6 months just like acting with no one, just like having to fill in all the gaps in the film, which is kind of crazy.
Well, like when you go to another big version of this kind of movie is like Blue's Clues, where literally the main character
never interacts
with anybody. Right? It's all animated around even the set. Like he barely touches anything.
Ian McKellen said something somewhere about the Hobbit movies because he was like, he's sitting in this room supposed to be with all the dwarves and he's just like by himself.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I thought I'd get to like have fun on set this time around. Like the magic just didn't come back. We're getting a little close to the end here, but I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the plot elements about Judge Doom's plan. I love his plan in the way that it's written, in that like it's just what happened. He's like, oh, we're gonna take out the trolley and make a freeway with he's like
gas stations
and car dealers and billboards, cheap hotels and quickly served food. He doesn't say fast food, but he says something
like all the way from here to Pasadena or something like that. It's like,
and he's like, that's so crazy. Only a tune would think of it. And it's totally just like they kind of given it to the car companies in this movie a little bit. But the other crazy thing about that is like when I watched it as a kid, and I'm from Southern California, so I know the freeway stuff looks like, and like that went over my head until I was probably a teenager, just like that whole element of the plot in general. But what's really crazy is that like 1947 always felt like 100 years ago, but that's like us watching a movie about the 70s. Like LA changed so drastically from the 40s to the 80s. It's uncanny. Like all the 50s and the 60s, like mostly in the 50s, like LA changed over a decade. It just completely transformed from place.
Public transportation town to all cars.
To something that might have rivaled New York City in public transportation had it continued to just this car culture.
I don't even have an idea that other than the red car, like from the movie, like I don't have an idea of what LA could have been with public transportation. Like, there's no way.
Like in the last 20 years, they've tried to like implement, like they added, there's a subway line, but it doesn't go that many places, and there are some train lines, but like it's nothing like what it could be.
No, it's a city that doesn't have very good. Like, I mean, to the point that
he's like, we'll have 8 lanes and there'll never be any traffic.
I mean, you're talking about these, and I had like this is not something that normally, like where I come from, I would know. Like I had no idea that LA was one time not the cluster that is today. That it had actually good public transportation. And when he makes reference to that, why would we want that? We have the red car and all stuff. Like I had no idea that this was a reality. My experience of LA was always that cluster.
It's just it's a crazy thing.
It's a crazy thing. It's the automobile.
So I guess we'll get to final thoughts, and maybe if you want to give it a score, we'll I think what we're going to do over the long term is we'll kind of keep track of the scores, and then maybe we'll do something with them at the end of the year or something. I don't know. I don't have a plan yet, but we're going to do it because it's kind of fun to give movies scores. Oh, you're going to do the average? I'm just going to record the individuals. What would you? And if you have any final thoughts, also anything that you want.
Okay, so on final thoughts, I don't know. Like this is something it's interesting. It was interesting to me to see it in this way when I saw it as an adult. But the cartoons, they live in a different reality of time, because what I mean is that they can, like, if something is like when you say that Roger always have to make a joke, sometimes things were happening that were setting up the joke, and then he was already doing something. There was no way to anticipate certain endings, so they will react immediately to a situation in order to get the joke. It's like if they could see what was going to happen in order to.
I think they're just always prepared. And I think to that point that like Roger really sets that up with the line where he slips out of the handcuffs. And he's like, you could have done that at any time. He goes, only when it was funny.
Only when it was. I mean, one of the biggest examples is like when the record gets like on a loop, and then like if you were lip syncing, you would just keep going and then notice that the thing is in a loop and then click back. He instantly goes. So it's like he has a control of the now that we don't understand. I mean, but I'm probably getting too far ahead, but it's like that's the difference between the cartoons and the human. Like they could react immediately to what is happening to the point that it feels that it was on purpose.
It was planned.
That it was planned. I mean, and it's a control, but it's on the human world, so it's a control or an empathy towards time that we don't conceive. But that's just like I'll give it a 7 only because
7.
I don't feel that it stands the test of time. But I was gonna give it a 6, and listen to you two talk about it. It made me feel that
we bumped you up.
I can't go that low.
What about you, Briana?
Well, as somebody who did not have the childhood memories of this movie,
You don't have the baggage coming in.
Yeah, I don't have the baggage coming in, and so I mean. Bob Hoskins is great in it. I think he's the best thing in the movie.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'm going to also give it a 7. I think that's what I was planning.
So it's fairly solid.
A solid number.
Yeah, I think I said most of the points that I wanted to say about this. It's a fun movie to watch again. I think as a filmmaker, I appreciate this movie a lot. I think they went out of their way to create, to do justice to the look of noir movies. It looks like you could play this alongside Chinatown, and it would, if there weren't tunes in the frame, it could have been a sister film. And just technically, what they had to have gone through to make this movie I think it's monumentally impressive. The script is a bit scattershot, and it's really easy to miss details. And kind of like what I was saying earlier, that this was the first time I was ever really able to follow the movie. I needed to be an adult who was ready to watch it with the mindset that I'm going to talk about it, to really go, okay, these are all the pieces, parts of the mystery. Because a lot of those things, it's easy to just let them wash over you. I think I'd give this movie a little higher than you guys. I'll give it a 7.8. Yeah, I'm going on the 100 system.
So it's at 7.3 average. So it's at 7.26 for the rounded out to 7.3 average.
Yeah, just on achievement alone, I think I give it a little bit extra.
I think that's...
it's not without its flaws, but I really appreciate the movie. Maybe I appreciate it more than I like it even.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's the same thing. My example would be Metropolis. I watch Metropolis. I understand what it means to have done that movie when they did it and the vision of it, but I'm bored by it.
Yeah,
I can't watch it. You don't stand the test of time in entertainment, which is technically the main reason why you were created for.
Yeah, for this movie to... I mean, every movie has kind of its own purpose.
Yeah.
So without getting into the full side.
Yeah.
If you, the listener/watcher, want to comment, please leave a comment on the YouTube video. I will read them and possibly respond to them if that's applicable. Or you can comment on our Facebook page. So... before we all sign off here, if you want to sort of join our movie club, just go to facebook.com/movieclubcollective. Like that page, and I'll post an update every week of what the next movie will be. and I'll tell you in just a moment what our next movie will be. You can find us on YouTube and iTunes. If you watch on YouTube, please give us the like. It's just a click for you, and it helps us out a lot. And if you're listening on iTunes, we'd love it if you give us a rating or a review. That would just kind of really help out our podcast. Thank you all for listening. Next week's movie will be Julie Taymor's Frida from 2002, starring Selma Hayek and Alfred Molina, about the artist Frida Kahlo and a little bit about her husband, artist Diego Rivera. This movie is rated R, so brief content warning. There is some nudity. There is some violence. It's not person-to-person violence, without getting into details. But it does have some violence in it, and it has a bit of sort of mild sexual content. So, content warning, this movie is currently available on both Netflix and Amazon Prime. So if you have either of those, you can watch it, you can stream it for free. Otherwise, it's available on all the digital stores to rent for $3 or buy for $9.
Cool.
So that's our show. Jose, where can the folks find you?
You can text me directly. Find me on
Text
Twitter.
you? You gonna give them your phone number?
No, I mean, it's almost a direct text when you do Twitter. Jose in Paradox, at Jose in Paradox, or JADCH2.
Also
on
Twitter?
On Twitter. Too.
You have two Twitters?
I have two Twitters, and I have
that sounds dizzying.
At JADCH2 on Instagram if you want to see some of my pictures.
Okay, you don't need us to follow you, right?
I mean, if you want to, I'm at the Redmount, and that tends to be my. Is there any specific ones? What? Oh, on Twitter and Instagram.
Oh, that's where you're at. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to find me, you can find me at John in Paradox. That's John with no H, Jon in Paradox, on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Until next week.
Yes.